Hello, and welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks Weekly Roundup Podcast, Episode 18. I'm your host, Tommy. I'm joined by Murphy.
Hello.
John has left us to our own devices this week, so you guys are in for a treat. We'll be talking about comic books.
Comic book takeover.
When John's not around, the comics will play. So, speaking of comics, we are quickly approaching 200 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like this content. Because when we reach 200 subscribers, we will be giving away a variant 9.8 King in Black #1 signed by Ryan Stegman and Donnie Cates. Very cool. You can also go back and watch our comic book top 5 picks for the week each week. You can go back and watch the previous ones. You leave a comment with your favorite pick for that week, and that enters you into the giveaway as a opportunity to get this book for free. All you have to do is watch the video, be subscribed, leave a comment, live in the United States, and you'll be all set. So, how was your week?
It was good. I did a lot of catching up on reading, and I'm just playing on eBay with these Bendis signed books.
Oh yeah, which one? Oh, the new ASM one, or
no,
just previous ones?
No, the ones I'm selling for the collection.
Oh, right.
Ahead of Multiverse of Madness.
Cool.
Yeah, man, eBay stresses me out. I keep thinking to go to one of the other like sites for selling.
Right.
And I never do.
Yeah.
Well, eBay took like 12.8%.
Yeah, I was gonna say it takes something like 13%, right?
After shipping too, so it's not just 12.8% of the price of the book; it's 12.8% of what the buyer paid.
Right.
So they take practically 12.8% of the shipping cost out of it too.
Right.
So it's it's a lot, but I guess they can do it since it is a very easy way to handle everything.
Right, you're paying for all the eyes that'll be on it.
Yeah, but I've been reading about a bunch of different sites that are getting pretty big now, like Whatnot or Shortboxed. So
I don't know what it is about Whatnot, but Whatnot just kind of frustrates me.
I've never used it.
They're very heavily involved in the trading card world too, and it is, I don't want to say cringy, but every single one I've watched just makes me cringe.
Well, so the ones I see, like pretty much all of the like exclusive content creators for comic books who also do like mail calls and like claim sales, they all do use Whatnot now.
Right.
Like Comic Tom uses Whatnot, and so I've seen some stuff through that, but I've never actually given it a try myself.
Yeah, like the most recent experience I had was there was a guy posting in my local game store's Discord talking about doing a Whatnot stream at the shop for MetaZoo. And it was around the same time that we were looking to start organized play at the shop, and we didn't really have enough people interested. And I was like, oh, maybe this person, they're doing a Whatnot stream for MetaZoo. They should probably be interested in playing at least. So, and they live nearby, obviously. So I asked him if he would be interested in joining us for the games. And he said, oh, I don't know how to play. I'm just a streamer.
He just...
And I was like, wait.
And...
So you're a streamer that goes on Whatnot that just opens packs and just freaks out about it? I was tilted.
Yeah, that's sadly kind of the world we live in now, though.
Yeah, I guess the same thing can happen with comic books.
Yeah, for sure.
Where people is like, oh, I don't actually read them. I don't know. I don't know.
I did meet a guy like that recently. He was like, yeah, I only care about the cover art. I was like, I guess that's cool. I get
sure.
that to a degree, but like, really? Like, yeah, like you could collect something different in that case.
Right.
You know?
Like, why don't you collect art?
Yeah, right. Like, go get like the original pages and
Yeah.
stuff.
Maybe they don't know you can do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But um, in terms of playing games, I went to my local draft this week. We were drafting Tales of Aria, and I won. So that was super exciting. So I won the 3 cold foil auras for the illusionist that are part of the armory kit this month. I do not play Prism. I do not have any plans of playing Prism. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with them yet, besides having them sit on my shelf and join the collection. They
And just
may.
be
What's that?
prizes.
Yeah,
They're just
it could be.
prizes.
Yeah. I mean, they're fancy cards. They go for about $50 each.
Nice.
There is a new illusionist in the new set, so I might be looking to play it. I don't know. It's just the game style of that class doesn't really interest me. And there's a ninja coming, and that looks really cool. So I'm probably going to be leaning that direction.
Ninjas are always cool,
Yeah.
right?
Because I have my Blitz deck figured out. I'm a Kasai main now. I've fallen in love with it. It's super fun. Don't really see a need of switching up. A lot of like Viscerai's gone out of Blitz now. He reached Living Legend, and they're just, I don't know. In our local meta, I feel pretty confident on Kasai. I may switch it up if I get bored, but right now I'm just having too much fun with it. But when it comes to Classic Constructed, in the last Pro Tour or Pro Quest, I was playing Starvo because that's the deck you play. And now one, it's about to hit Living Legend, and so it won't be playable, and it got nerfed. So I'm looking there. But I'm might be waiting for the next set to really decide what I'm playing, because the new ninja looks super dope. But then there's also like Dorinthia might be good again, and I am really enjoying Warrior. So there's that.
So since I, still I don't know much about the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, your local meta, is that just like there are different metas depending on where you are, basically? Like
Right.
just how people play?
So like, yeah, right. So when I say local meta, I mean like the meta at my store. So when you play a game online, like Magic Arena, there's a meta, but that's worldwide because you're playing with people worldwide. And in a game like Flesh and Blood, when you can't really play online. You can through Tabletop Simulator and stuff like that, but most people just play in person or with their friends at home. And so it's more so the decks that appear at our local shop, like that would be your local meta. So there could be some decks that are really strong and really viable and that would counter me and that would make me want to change, but those decks aren't appearing, so I don't feel
So you don't have to
it.
change.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the perk of not having an online client, is the meta shifts locally opposed to online.
I mean, I guess that makes sense to me. Just in general, I think about like video games.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is still like a overall meta, because there are content creators and people pushing certain decks and showing off different decks and putting out deck lists, and people that don't want to make their own decks. You'll see a lot of those decks, but it's just one of those things where in this game it's more localized.
Yeah.
But so what did we read this week? Do you want to start on this one?
Like I said, I had a bunch of catching up to do. So I'm reading Fantastic Four, which is just real interesting.
That's Dan Slott, right?
Yeah, and they have this event, the Reckoning War, which is like going all the way back to like the original Sin event from like 2012 or something like that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
so
issue
it's
are they up to?
40 something. I think it was
Okay.
43 was the last one I read.
Okay.
Of
That's pretty big.
Fantastic Four.
That's a pretty big number for Marvel.
Yeah, he's been writing this one for a bit, you know. But the Reckoning War, it was just like there's an Alpha and an Omega, but then it's just in the Fantastic Four um, main line, except for some one shots every once in a while.
Right.
But on top of that, I had to read Spider-Man
Of course.
because obviously had to read Spider-Man. The only things I didn't really catch up on were my image books and stuff like that.
I feel like those are
Like,
better reading in chunks anyways.
yeah, I've learned that. So I read Department of Truth, and I read the first 10 issues just online, like just binged through 10 issues, and then I started going one by one, and yeah, it's a lot.
I feel like that's my exception to the rule is Department of Truth, because every time I read an issue, I'm just like, that's enough comics for today. They're just so dark. I'm just like, I need a palate cleanser or something. I need
so much dialogue too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it's just no, for me, I read those 10 issues in like one day.
Oof.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
I just read an entire book.
It's so good, but it's just so much.
Right.
But no, other than that, I caught up on like Batman stuff.
Nice.
Now that Shadow War is going on, I made sure I was caught up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just pretty much everything. Finished Devil's Reign.
Cool.
Lots of event stuff.
Yeah, I'm working my way up to Devil's Reign. I too was trying to do some catch up. Like we talked about how far behind I was on Amazing Spider-Man in our video this week.
You did a lot.
Yeah. So I have a hard time reading week to week now. I much prefer binging, so I will be behind on a lot of things, and then I will very quickly catch up. I think I got to 82 of Amazing Spider-Man, so I have about 10 issues, and then the 0.1s and 2s in between.
Yeah, so.
And then.
Yeah,
but I finished Sinister War. Yeah.
So you finished Nick Spencer.
Finished Nick Spencer. I'm in Beyond. And it makes me, because I read a couple little thoughts and things about number one, and it seems that everyone's kind of upset that it's very confusing, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they jump around quite a bit.
Right.
But it's 19 total issues.
Right.
That's like one shots and everything. It's like, and like the spin-off Amazing Spider-Man .BEY.
Right.
There's only 19 total issues to get the whole thing, and it clears up towards the end.
And they're pretty quick reads.
Yeah, they're nothing. There's no oversized issues or anything like that.
Right. So I caught up on that as much as I could, and then I finished a lot of this. I was reading on Marvel Unlimited. I read through the Sisters of Battle, so the Warhammer 40k Sisters of Battle that Marvel put out. It's a 5-issue miniseries. It's actually nutty. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that and didn't pick it up. I was never really the biggest Warhammer.
Right. You don't need to be. You could just straight up pick this up and not know anything and just read it. Yeah. I would suggest giving it a shot on Marvel Unlimited. And if you are into Warhammer, definitely do it. It's just wild. It's how they basically in 5 issues were like, you learned so much about the faction. And that's what I think these kind of miniseries are doing, is kind of putting into a 5-issue story, like, here's what you need to know about this faction. Because the first faction they did was Space Marines, of course. And then they're doing Sisters of Battle. I've been looking in the previews, but I don't think I've seen the next one. So I don't know if they are doing another one. I'd assume so. It'd be pretty weird if they just did 2 5-issue miniseries and then just stopped. Like, if you got the license and you got you went through this whole ordeal. I don't know.
it's not like they even really need people to buy them either.
Right, right.
Like they
Um,
could do limited runs and
yeah,
like
yeah,
small runs.
yeah. And I can't foresee that single issues being that large of print runs, but being able to have the trades of those on shelves in bookstores and stuff, I
Yeah.
think that like Barnes and Noble, like getting the big box stores, getting the trades, I think is really the bigger thing.
Yeah, I'll have
But
to check that out. So is all of Sisters of Battle out?
yes, it's all on Unlimited. You can read the entire
Oh,
thing.
nice.
Yeah, 5 issues.
Did you catch up on Hulk though?
I started to. So I read what was on Unlimited. I have to do some digging through my unsorted boxes of comics to find 4, 5, and 6. So I read 1, 2, and 3 and really enjoyed it. Was a little confused. So is he in the Hulk, or is he's controlling the Hulk? But then there's
So
the
he Banner's mind is in control of the Hulk.
right. I got that.
So he is, yeah, pretty much piloting the Hulk.
But he's not inside
No, it's his
because the scaling
consciousness is
seemed
just,
off.
yeah, his consciousness is just running the ship.
Okay. Because
At
there's
least
the
from how
cover.
I understand it.
There's the cover with like the visor, Hulk's visor broken, and he's in it.
Yeah, no, I don't. He's not like actually a miniature.
Okay.
It's like
No, I
he's
didn't think he
just-
was miniature. I was just like, is Hulk blown up that big, kind of a thing.
No. So
Okay.
he's normal size.
His fight with Tony was really cool. That was fun.
Against the Hulkbuster.
Yeah, he was just like, I don't care. He was like, what if I was in that one? He was like, oh well.
He shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the series is really good. I think it's gonna start getting real. It's gonna get dark. You know, most
It's
Hulk
Donny
ones
Cates.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, what is it? The Hulk that's having the tie-in with Thor?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be
So
fun.
I don't know when that happens because Thor's pretty much just finishing up its own arc.
Right.
So I'd imagine probably the next issue, like next issue or two, maybe there's a filler and then Banner of War starts.
Right.
But now in issue 5 of Hulk, they turned like he's ramping up how angry he makes the engine.
Oh.
You know, because like it's like
so okay, yeah. I had a question on that one. So, where how does he spawn things in this world to basically increase the engine? The giant Wolverine appeared?
Yeah, so it's just things that make Hulk angrier.
Okay. So, and I love how they did like the
got-
old school, like original Wolverine costume.
Yeah. So like it seems like I don't know which Hulk that is. I lose track. Like Devil Hulk is the angriest one.
Okay.
And so it seems like the Devil Hulk persona is in the engine room, and then every time he pushes the lever up to another thing, like another, stage, then that stage is associated with something that makes Hulk angrier.
Oh, okay.
So what? The first one was zombies, right?
Right.
And then the second one's Wolverine,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just keeps going and keeps going.
That's
but
cool.
in issue 5, he turns it up to level 5,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gods. So
Oh,
it's just Hulk versus all the gods of Asgard.
That's wild. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so it's a little confusing, I think. I'm wondering. I think this first arc's gonna like kind of break up the starship idea.
Right.
You know, it's gonna start being Banner's not fully in control.
Yeah. Oh, well, you have to see that happening.
Yeah, of course. So I'm excited for it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch up on that one. And then I read some Daredevil, the Chip
where you
Zdarsky
at?
Daredevil. I'm at issue 11. So he just, without spoiling too much, but letting you know where I am, it's when Daredevil goes into the police precinct.
Okay. Yeah.
And the cameras are turned off.
Yeah. So you still got a good ways to go.
Yeah.
I
So
would definitely recommend catching up as far as Devil's Reign goes.
Yeah. Well, then Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil the book is on pause, right? And then it's coming back after Devil's Reign. Now that it's done.
Yeah. So during Devil's Reign, started a new Daredevil book, and then
Is there a new number one?
It sort of.
Okay.
Sort of.
Is is it Devil's Reign, or is there a separate book?
No, so there's like a 3-issue run with Elektra involved.
Oh,
so a woman without fear.
Right, but that was that was part of the event, though, like an event tie-in book.
It's not really.
Okay.
It's a tie-in book. It has to do with what's going on.
Right.
But it's not. It's more of an Elektra story, I think, to set up her solo comics coming back too.
Oh, okay, cool.
So she plays heavily into Daredevil going into Devil's Reign, and then her book's coming back.
Cool.
But so then I think Daredevil's supposed to restart soon too.
Yeah, and Zdarsky's staying on it.
Believe so.
Yeah,
he's gonna be busy,
right? That's what I was. So when I stopped at the comic shop, I was like, "So we're gonna have the same guy writing Batman for DC and Daredevil for Marvel at the same time?" It's just it's weird.
Yeah, at least they're similar, you know.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean that's I think adds to the oddity. But it's so crazy watching Chip Zdarsky become this name that is beyond. Because I remember when I first learned about him when he was drawing Sex Criminals.
Yep, that's the same for me.
And then he started writing, and now he does covers for art. But really, his main thing is writing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like seeing those crossovers. Like Patrick Gleason does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, like he was an artist, a writer for DC, then an artist, then he came to Marvel as an artist, and now he's a writer and an artist. Like, it's cool to see them diversify.
Right. No, I agree. I also just find it weird that he can navigate the waters of a contract of being put on DC's largest book while also writing for Marvel.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I mean, when you're a big enough name, you can kind of, you know, do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, you just, you know.
Then
I'll write Batman.
Right.
And I won't leave, but I'm gonna work with Marvel.
Right. So the last thing I caught up on was Star Wars. I'm reading the 2015 run. Started with Jason Aaron, I believe, and then switched to Kieran Gillen, and then I think it's about to switch again. I'm on issue 50. I think there's like 70 some.
Yeah. Then after 70 some is that when it? Yeah, that's when it goes to the Charles Soule stuff.
So is that actually a number one?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not, you need to know.
So the Charles Soule stuff, I forget where the run before it ended, but Soule's starts like with Han Solo being taken from Cloud City.
Okay.
So that's where that starts off.
Okay.
So I forget where the run before it ended.
So you could just start with Charles Soule number one. You don't need to read.
I mean, as long as you've seen Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, right.
basically. Like if you've seen the movies, you can jump on right there.
Okay, cool. Because I was tempted to do that, but I was like, wait, we're on Marvel Unlimited, and the entire thing is there. I just so bit off a little bit more than I can chew, but enjoying it. It's fun. Seeing
Yeah,
some
it was a
cool
big run.
characters. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So I guess that's all I caught up on. So if we want to hop into the topic of the week, which
Yeah.
is how to pick your pull list. So we put out a video a week or two ago, how to get into collecting comics, and what we didn't really touch on was how to, so you know how to do it, but you don't know which ones to pick. And obviously that is very, we didn't want to put that in the video because it is very opinionated. So I figured in a podcast form it would be more fun to talk about how we do it. So this first part, which is setting a budget, I'm very bad at.
Insanely bad at it.
But yes. But when I started collecting comics, I was very good at it. And I think that's something that's important to understand, because I know a lot of people who have tried to get into collecting comics and did not do this step, and then very quickly found that they just left the hobby in general because they were picking up way too much and not actually reading it and not being happy with what they picked.
I'm kind of the opposite way. I'm like, even if I say I'm not that good at it right now, I used to be much worse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like when I first started, I just didn't set a budget. I was like,
Yeah.
that was kind of also with the beginnings of like the digital comics and everything like that.
Right.
So like I would pull like $80 to $100 a week at Phantom of the Attic.
Yep.
And then I wouldn't buy, or like for some reason I would buy online instead. So then I'm spending online too, but also pulling stuff.
Right.
And then I wouldn't be able to pay for it for like 2 months at a time because I was just like a 19-year-old kid
Right.
who
Sure.
like
Yeah.
didn't really know what, like I knew that I'd read everything, but like I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And then now I have it set where I know even if I go a month without picking up, I know generally what I'm going to pay.
Right.
I used to be so bad.
Because one of the things that can quickly get out of hand is it's like, oh, I'm just picking up all the X-Men books, which if you're just picking up the X-Men books is no small feat. But then, so you set your budget, right? All right. So you add up the monthly cost of every X-Men book, and you're like, all right, well, each month it'll cost X amount. But what you then don't realize is that they are going to be coming out with X-Men one-shots and X-Men tie-ins and X-Men events. And what do you do then? It pushes you over your budget. So I always suggest leaving a little bit of room, or if you do plan on going the route of just, I'm going to pick up all the X-Men, XYZ, whatever you want to do, just know that there are going to be exceptions and special issues that come out every so often that will push the amount higher. And then that's not even talking about random variant covers that you're like, ooh, I need that variant cover.
Well, you got to have a separate budget for it. Those things you have to just accept you're spending extra money.
Yeah.
But no, for instance, like also with events, like I tend to avoid events now. Unless, like,
I do too.
I think one thing that I wish someone would have told me earlier is you don't have to buy everything for every event.
No.
Like, the main run of an event will cover what you want.
Right, because that's what's being collected.
And that's only like a 6 to 8 issue thing sometimes.
Right.
So, like, I wish somebody would have told me earlier, like, just buy the main stuff, and if you really like what you're reading, buy the stuff that involves the characters you're following. Like,
right.
Like I did the last one that I foolishly signed on for fully was Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I didn't really care about what was going on with Hulkling and Wiccan
No.
in the story. It didn't do it for me. Like, I could have definitely just picked up 6 comics instead of like 32 comics.
Well, don't forget issue 0.
Yeah, it's 7.
I love how they do that. It's just like issue 0.
I mean, yeah, no.
Is it though?
That's almost a whole nother videos worth of stuff. Like all the different numbers now, and like we've talked about the alphas and the omegas and all that. But in general, so with a budget, like it's kind of your own personal decision. Like if you got money to spend, go crazy.
Right.
But otherwise, just prioritize what characters you care about the most, and then leave some wiggle room.
Yeah, always leave wiggle room, because especially with Marvel and DC, because the way they write their books, the way they come out with their books, and the way they tie books into each other, that is just their giant marketing plan of, you think you just want this book, but now it's ended, and then this story is actually continuing in another book. So you should probably pick out that book if you want to find out what happens.
I think one of the hardest things for me with budgeting is like I'll think about it like, like I'm like, I know that Undiscovered Country is taking like a 3-month break, and I'm like, okay, so that's 3 issues that I'm not going to be paying for the next month,
right?
Or a couple months. So like I'll try to add stuff in, and then I'll see like Marvel. They did what was that? The nonstop Spider-Man.
Yeah, it tried to come out.
They got nonstop Spider-Man out, and then that was supposed to be it. Like it was supposed to be a fully contained story.
Right.
And then the last issue, they're like, just kidding.
Yep.
Number 6 is actually Savage Spider-Man #1.
Yep.
A
so new number 1.
Another number 1, or like I was reading the Alien series that Marvel put out.
Yeah. I only lasted like 2 issues on that.
Yeah, I lasted 7. It was supposed to be 6 issues long. And then all of a sudden I picked up number 7. I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's still going. And then it's still going now. I think they're on like 12 now.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of my frustration with a budget, is like I actively keep track of what I'm getting, and then sometimes I don't realize that I need more.
Right.
Or less.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that leads into picking a new series. And one thing I do want to talk about with setting a budget is much easier to do if you are focusing on independent books, because they don't do any of that stuff. It's really just, it's either coming out this month or it's not. So the issue with independent books isn't, oh, I'm going to be overflooded with trying to find out all the stories from it splitting off and ending and splitting off and ending. Like Marvel and DC, it's more so, all right, so an arc just finished up. There isn't going to be another issue for 2 or 3 months. And then so you have some more wiggle room in your budget. So you look at what else is coming out, and you're like, oh, well, there's a new Image book by this writer I like, or this has art from this artist I like. Maybe I'll check that out. And then it just adds up and up and up and up and up. Most of my pull list is actually independent comics now. By independent, I mean like Image, Boom.
I'd say
Vault.
I'd say mine's pretty. I mean, it's 50% Marvel, and then 25 DC, 25 independent.
Yeah. When I was looking at CLZ, the app now has like a breakdown thing, and the amount of DC I have is wild.
Yeah, I would be the same, but with Marvel, it's like If you look at all my boxes when I open them up and like you see the dividers, it's like Marvel and then like 5 long boxes, and then it's like DC.
Yeah, like so DC I'm at 2400, and then at the top with the most, and then the second most is Marvel with 1200.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then image I almost have as much image as I have Marvel. I have
Yeah,
almost
so you're
1100.
kind of split like I am.
Yeah.
50%, 25, 25.
Yeah, and a little bit of Boom and IDW. Almost all of the IDW is TMNT,
Yeah, that's fair.
but it's the one thing they have left
Right.
for now until Disney buys it.
Oh wow! Don't put that out there. What happened like right now? You know Disney's listening.
Well, Nickelodeon has it, so
Yeah, and then that's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
yeah. So adding a new series, the way I usually do it is if there's a new image book out, I will pick it up and I'll actually read it that week, that one issue, just to kind of gauge and see if I am interested in the series. And I usually, so with image books, I almost always pick up the number one, just also out of speculation as well as reading, just because, especially right now, being at the end of the pandemic, hopefully, and but still dealing with all these supply issues and shortages and low print runs, a lot of these independent books are going to have some pretty small print runs. So if they do blow up, there aren't going to be many of the first issues out there. So from a speculator's point of view, that is always a positive thing. Yes, there will be a bunch of misses, and after you gain experience with comics, you will learn there are some you can skip and that just it will not go. Typically those are the like 5 or 6 issue miniseries. The ones that say that they are planning on being ongoings, those are the ones you really want to look at. I do skip a lot of I used to read all the little miniseries that Image would put out, but I've typically strayed away from that unless it's by a writer or artist that I really like.
Yeah, it's gotta be special sometimes.
Yeah.
Now the way I pick new series is I do it solely based on character or creator.
Okay.
Like, you know, I don't do much spec in the sense of like grabbing number ones, like I have in the past, but you know, with new job and all that, and like having to cut money,
right?
I generally don't just pick up stuff anymore. But like, you know, I know my 4 main like Marvel characters, for instance, are Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, Wolverine. I'm like, okay, those 4, I'm gonna always carry their main lines.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, I got into Donny Cates or Tynion or somebody, and I just you know, if I see they have something new coming out, I'll go in on that too. But so I generally, like I said, I do it by creator or character.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like, one of the creators like that for me is Zdarsky. And so I started picking up, but it's not always a hit. Like, I picked up Newburn, and that just kind of wasn't for me. But, so then I drop it, which leads into our next part about dropping books. When do you drop a series? Do you have any opinions on when you drop series?
The moment I read 2 to 3 issues and I'm not really into it,
yeah,
that's when I drop them. Like, it really is. Like, for instance, like Robin, I probably should have stayed on, you know, because now it is like tying into Batman and stuff like that. But like, I read through the first, I think it was 13 issues. Yeah. And, you know, I hit like issue 10 and I was like, you know, not really. I would save it for last or something like that.
Right.
And then as like it started building up that like 2 to 3 issues were saved till last, I just, you know, it's a personal feeling when it's time to walk away from something like that.
Yeah. And I wonder if that was not necessarily planned or what the timing of that would be specifically. with Tynion leaving Batman, J.H. Williams taking over Batman for temporarily before Zdarsky in July. And then with Williams also writing Robin, he was probably just like, oh, well, now's my chance to tie it in. So,
I mean, and it makes the most sense.
right,
It definitely does. But it's just at that point, like, I could almost feel that he had started writing Batman,
Yeah, right.
And it's like once I start feeling like the story, because the art's always going to hold up. But
Sure.
once I feel like the story is not doing it for me anymore, I give it a couple more issues just to see.
Right.
And then I drop it. But with the way I pull books, that doesn't happen often.
Right. Yes.
Because I pull, like I've said before, like I pull my four main like favorite characters in Marvel and DC and stuff. And then I just pull the major stuff like the Fantastic Four, Justice League, like stuff like that. Like things that are going to continue to be major books.
I don't know. Justice League's not going to be a major book for a while.
Oh yeah, but I mean they could take a break.
Yeah, they've been going since the 60s.
But you know what I mean, though. It's like you always know that the Justice League's going to keep going.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
But like most of the books that I drop, I give a chance because of who's in them, and then end up, if I lose interest for 2 or 3 straight issues, I'm done.
Yeah. When I drop
or if my budget gets out of control.
Yeah, so that's kind of how mine works. When my budget gets out of control, I do a culling. Yeah. So, and what that entails is, so you can, the way I manage my pull list is on leagueofcomicgeeks.com, and there's a page where you can go and manage your subscriptions. And I go and I look through, and then it has like series that have ended and stuff like that. So whenever I feel like I'm pulling too much and I'm just not reading it, or just there are books that I'm no longer interested in and I'm picking up too much, I will go to leagueofcomicgeeks.com, pull up my subscription, remove all the books that have ended, and then go through and like just remove almost everything down to like the essentials. And then because that's what I use to reference when I order my books each week. And having that be, I usually bring it down to about half of where it was.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do too. Is I take it to I'd say about half.
Yeah.
Just any side stories and things like that I'm not really feeling anymore.
Right.
But I manage mine. I like League of Comic Geeks, but I manage mine mostly all on memory.
I don't have, I'll forget books. I'll be like, am I picking that up? So that whenever I do that, I end up with like, I have issues 1, 2, 5, 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I need to get more into using sites and stuff, but my problem is that I do like Phantom of the Attic so much, and they don't really use Comic Hub.
Yeah. Comic Hub makes things very
it makes things super easy.
Yeah.
But like for me, like I'll give them a call or an Instagram message, and 90% of the time everything works out, but then other times it's like I won't get Batman Beyond Neo year pulled aside, even though we had talked about it.
Right.
But I do know that when major Spider-Man issues come around, your boy's getting all the variants.
Because that conversation's been had.
They know that's they're waiting for the next big one.
Right.
But I feel like all the things that we've talked about with setting a poll list and things like that, it's all personal.
Yeah, and there are a lot of
How
things that go
people can
into
get
it.
into it.
And that's why I wanted to have like kind of the two conversations separately. So having the one of how to do it, just how we do it, how we set it up, like what sites we use, what tools we use in the video, and then here in the podcast talking about how we do it personally, which doesn't mean how you do it personally. It just means how we do it, and maybe you can learn, or I don't know, just how we do it.
Now, the last thing I would like to say about the whole topic, though,
Mhm.
is you don't have to pull everything.
No.
You know, pull
No.
lists generally are a recurring thing, whereas I walk into my shop, they pull out my pull for the week or whatever time period, and then I just go perusing around
Yes.
and
Yeah, I do too.
choose other things.
Right.
So it's important to know that you don't have to stick with everything past what you pick up in the store.
Right. And you can always go digging through back issues and stuff like that.
New comic book day is coming up soon, or free comic book day.
Yeah.
That's
exciting.
Go digging through. That's also a good way to get into series.
Yeah, there's a lot of like free issue zeros, issue ones. They're essentially like previews with lots of ads.
Lots of ads for sure.
But when you do go to Free Comic Book Day, I'm sure we'll do a video. We should do a video on Free Comic Book Day to talk about what's being offered.
Yeah.
But when you do, something to know is that the comic book store is not given these books necessarily most often. They are paying for them. So if you are going in there and just expecting to just grab a bunch of free comics and walk out, you'll probably get a dirty look. So the whole idea of Free Comic Book Day is that you get some free comics when you come into the store, but you should also be purchasing something.
Yeah.
Support your local comic shop.
Yeah, at least buy a back issue or something.
Yeah. Buy a trade, buy a figure, buy some other comics.
Don't even say figures. Oh man, Tommy, the discounts are gonna be crazy.
I know. I've been collecting the black and white Batman Direct, DC Connect figures. Not figures, statues.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, no, all I have is Spider-Man statues and a Boba Fett 6-scale figure.
Yeah. All my statues are small. And then I have some cool figures. They're like all Batman though, and villains.
Yeah.
I have some of the original New 52 Justice League ones, like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Flash, and
That's
I have a figure of 80s disco suit Nightwing.
The best.
Yeah.
Not really though. Not in my opinion.
I wanted to come back. I wanted to come back in Tom Taylor's run. Just for an issue. Like his new one's in the wash or something, and it's the only one he can wear.
He can only pull out the old one.
Yeah.
It's probably hanging in the Batcave though.
There has to be. He had to have more than one though.
I don't know. Yeah, you never know. Spider-Man only has one suit.
It's true.
I guess Nightwing would be different though.
Yeah, because he has a little more money. Yeah.
You're Batman's homie.
Yeah.
All right, so
before we get too off topic, is there anything else you wanted to talk about on picking up your pull list?
No, I think that we covered it for the most part.
Well, if you've made it this far, leave a comment down below on how you do your pull list. I'd be interested to hear. And this will also count as a way to enter in the 200 sub giveaway because you have made it almost 50 minutes into the podcast to hear this. So thank you for listening. The content that we have put out this past week, we did some Flesh and Blood stuff. So John did some Draconic predictions, visions into Valcor. Basically, we got a bunch of teasers for the new set, which is coming at the end of June, which is super exciting. And then Murphy and I will have we did our top 5 comics for the week and What You Need to Know, Amazing Spider-Man #1. So basically going over Spencer's run and beyond and all the main key things you need to know before you read number 1, even though you'll probably be like, why did I need to know any of this? I probably didn't need to know any of this because number 1 answered it just has a lot more questions. So turns out you don't really need to read all that, but it will probably become helpful eventually.
It'll be a callback.
Yeah, there will be callbacks. Then John did his market update on Thursday. And then I opened up on Friday. I opened up the second part of the Caster Society bundle where I opened the Wilderness theme decks for MetaZoo. Kind of skimmed through them. I had not had a chance to look at them yet. So I just kind of opened them up, opened the packs, took a look, see what I thought, see if there was game plans, gave a little review of each. It was fun. It was a good time. And then we're going to have our normal stuff this week, and I'm sure we'll have some other stuff thrown in. So we'll have our top 5 on Tuesday for the comics, our market update for Thursday, podcast same time next week on Sunday. And then we have our Amazing Spider-Man number 1 review that we will be doing tomorrow and will probably come out Wednesday. And then, yeah, any closing thoughts?
No, just make sure to give us those comments and enter to win the sub giveaway.
Not a lot of people have entered yet. So if you do, you have a very large chance of winning this super cool, rad comic. So until next time, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Have a good one.